Hello, welcome to the SC Playbook podcast live from the Caxton Hotel. I'm your host, Tim Williams, and my two guests for today's show. Well, probably shouldn't even call them guests because I'm in your house, boys. Two of the best looking chooks I've ever seen in my life. Darcy, Clutz, the bloody brilliant beers, boys. It's funny, I'm hosting, but thanks for having me.
That's right, mate. Thanks for coming up.
Tell you what, you mustn't get out much if we're two of the best looking chooks you've ever seen. Very, very sheltered life you've had, Tim.
Yeah. You've seen the blokes I hang out with down here.
It's fair.
To be fair.
How does it feel to be up in Queensland, mate?
It's funny, like, I hate your football team so much. I hate most of the people from this state. The state itself, though, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to knock, really.
No.
The Caxton is one of the great establishments on the planet. I'm like, if you took footy and sporting rivalry out of it, I wouldn't have a bad word to say about you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's we can't find anything wrong with it. So we always say it's the greatest pub on earth. So thanks for making the journey, mate.
It's hard to argue, to be honest. We've got Coffee's Hotel in Cooma right up there. The Alpine Hotel in Cooma, they'd be right up there. But we'll get you down there next time.
For sure. We'll have to return the favour. Yeah.
And it's funny, boys. We people be sitting there going, like, where's this collaboration come from? Why is this happening? And
the love of piss.
Yeah, the love of piss is a huge part of it. Yeah, I mean, you're literally known as the bloody brilliant beers boys, so that's just a bit. I do a podcast every week that's beers and break-even, so there is a common theme here amongst us. And but at the end of the day, we've been to a few events over the years, had a bit to do with each other. You always get us a few beers at Magic Round, life's good, and we just get along. I just like you more than a lot of people that I do shows with. And like, literally this morning, I sat there with the rugby league guru, and I'm like, fuck this idiot again. I'm like, no, do it for work, thinking about the content, but I just enjoy your company, so here we are.
This doesn't even feel like work, does it?
Yeah, look, the feeling's mutual.
Yeah,
very, very excited.
Even better to know that, like, the second we clock off, straight downstairs, fresh schooner, Kako, how good.
That is the best thing about recording your podcast at the Caxton. Yeah. People still don't believe us that we record at the Caxton, but we are quite literally at the pub right now.
It's look, the Utes going to be having a stay over at the Caxton tonight, I believe, because Daddy's going for a rip.
Oh no.
Well, it is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. What have I got myself into? And boys, I suppose, for anyone who, if you've been living under a rock, you don't know the bloody brilliant beers boys, Queensland royalty, and social media channels massive, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all that good gear, so go and check them out. But again, you've got a shitload more followers than I do, so I'm probably preaching to the wrong choir here. But boys, what we're going to do today is I want to do for SC Playbook in the Supercoach pre-season. We are focusing on Supercoach here, a beginner's guide, essentially. Now, what I'm going to do in a separate video back home, I'll do a 15 to 20 minute sort of show that is for out-and-out beginners, first-time Supercoach players, how to set your team up, what points are worth for try scores, what captains are, what they're worth, what the flex is, all that stuff. I'll get that out there. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to touch on some of the basics of Supercoach. We're going to do it in a bit of a more informal manner. Das, you have zero Supercoach experience.
Literally zero. I had to use the autofill to pick the end of my team.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I'm at. I really need this 15-minute video that you're talking of.
Yes.
Coming in completely blind, to be honest, never played in my life.
And when I said for you to set up a team, I gave you my predicted 17s. I said you can work off that, but basically don't do research, mate. Because there's a lot of people out there that are in your position. They have no idea where to start. So we're going to pull your team apart. Clutz, you do the SC Playbook, host the SC Playbook NFL show with a few other guns there. Season just wrapped up from a Supercoach perspective. So you know Supercoach, you know break-evens, you know price changes, these sorts of things. You've dabbled over on the dark side with a bit of NRL fantasy in the past. Queenslanders seem to love. I don't know why.
Yeah, look, all the boys seem to like it. I prefer Supercoach, big time. I like the interface, the players, like the selection. I like that a lot more.
Yeah. 1,000 times better. Anyway, we'll convert the Queenslanders one at a time.
Yes.
But in terms of NRL Supercoach, you've got no experience. So you're coming in certainly a bit more ahead of the game than what Das is, but we're going to go through your two teams, player by player, and as I said, just going to pick it apart. But what we're going to do to start today's show, terminology is vital in Supercoach.
I'm in strife here.
You're in a lot of strife. And we're going to start with a few of these, particularly the abbreviations and what they are. So I'm going to throw a few at you boys. And we're going to start with Das, who I reckon, I've got about 10 or so here. I'm backing you for maybe 3 out of 10. Clutz, you'll probably go 8 or 9 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure on the young man.
Yeah, well, a lot of it converts across the Supercoach code. So we'll start with one for you, Das. Pod. Do you know what a pod is?
No fucking idea. Pod, like the little Mars bar thing. No, I wouldn't have a fucking clue, mate.
What if I was to say POD?
Player of something?
Kind of,
It's close. It's a point of difference.
Point of difference. Okay. That makes sense, yeah.
So point of difference, we refer to pods all the time in Supercoach and at SC Playbook. And basically, lots of players in the game will be 40, 50, 60% owned. We love pods, both the chocolate format and the low ownership Supercoach player format.
Sure.
So you go, a pod is generally someone, you could make an argument that it's someone at sub 20% ownership in Supercoach. A super pod is sub 10%. That's the good nitty gritty shit that you really like.
Makes sense, I guess. So you want a pod, so it's all well and good to do well, but if everyone else is doing well, it doesn't really serve you.
Correct. So let's say someone like Dave Fafita, who will be near 100% owned for Supercoach round one, especially among, veteran and experienced Supercoaches. Fafita goes out there round one, he scores 2 tries and he gets 110 points. I'll be sitting there going, cool, everyone's got him.
Yeah.
You don't really achieve anything.
Yeah.
But let's say you have...
All that's tougher.
All that's tougher. Let's say you could go with the other edge backer at the Bunnies in Tallis Duncan. He'll be a pod. I don't know what his numbers are at the moment, but he'll be about 5% or something. If he goes out and scores a double and 110 points, you're like, I'm so on here.
Yep.
Pods are
Gold.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. CT dub.
Something cost? Is C cost? No? No, I got no idea.
It's just position. Center wing.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
I thought that might
That was
potentially
staring me. It's probably on my screen
yeah.
in front of me.
I thought that might get you, Clutz, just being not NFL centric, but well done.
Actually, you won't be privy to this, but I did an IQ test yesterday. It cost me $2.
131.
131. So
Really?
No
apparently-
joke. Clutzy he pulled something up on his laptop in our podcast, and he had a banner ad saying, "Is it autism or high intelligence?" So he took the test.
So what was the result?
High intelligence,
Yeah,
but it's
obviously.
also a case of the other one too. But
It's a spectrum for a reason.
I think
It really
it's
is.
great.
if you're getting those ads, it's autism.
It sees your search behaviour.
yeah, that's why I twitch. It's good. It's good stuff. But yeah, center wing.
So in Supercoach, as you'll have seen, putting your team together, Darce, but centres and wingers all going to one spot. We call them, it's centre wing, CT dub, happy days. Mid-range.
Is that to do with their pricing?
It is, mate. Well done.
I'm guessing it's mid-range
Pretty
pricing.
straightforward, but
Yeah.
mid-range, and when we refer to a mid-ranger, in particular a mid-range player, it kind of differs positions because, like, fullbacks, for example, are so expensive. So a mid-ranger might actually be more of that sort of 500 to 600k mark. But generally speaking, a mid-ranger might be 350 to 500,000. So that's what we've gone with there.
Yeah.
Jewel.
Jewel, they can play 2 positions.
Correct.
Oh,
He's
on fire.
Couple on the trot.
I only need one more to get Timmy's predicted 3 out of 10. So,
Yeah. Oh, you're doing better than I thought already. So, Jewel, in Supercoach, players can have 2 positions. One thing that I will note with Supercoach, and the season has launched now, any players that are dual position. So, you might have, like...
The hammer.
You might have the hammer who can be like a dual CT dub and fullback. Yeah, so a good example there. They can't have a third position. You can have 2 max.
Okay.
They will add positions leading into round 1. Once the season starts, they can only add positions round 6, round 12, and I think it's round 18. They do about 3 updates throughout the season, but up until those points they can't. They have their criteria for it. They cannot take positions off players, and you cannot have more than 2 positions in your team for a player.
Yeah.
Now, this one I don't expect you to get, but we'll see if you can get in the ballpark. If I refer to something as base in regards to point
I'm guessing
in the scoring system.
I'm guessing they have a level that they are predicted to hit based off their cost.
Kind of. Not cost related, though. So,
Not cost related.
do you know what base is? Clutz?
Base is like what they're expected to score, isn't
Essentially,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much
okay.
what they're expected to score.
So, when we talk about, like, you're not expected to score tries as such or have line breaks or set them up, especially certain positions in the game. A front rower, they're additional bonus points, attacking stats, really. Base is tackles plus hit up points.
Yep.
And to get technical, you add in missed tackles. So they're the ones that you can rely on each week. You know roughly how many tackles a player is going to make each week. They're about roughly how many runs they're going to have. So that's their sort of baseline that if they add no attacking stats, tries, try assists, etc., they should score a minimum of 30 or 40 based on their base.
Yep.
So that's what that is. Power points.
Is that the opposite? If they're not expected to score tries, etc.?
Yes, but we can narrow it down a little bit more. So when we refer to power, like tries, try assists, they're attacking stats really. Yep. Power points, these ones that have become a little bit more big in Supercoach circles in recent years, and they are very important. That's tackle bus and offloads.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so huge stats. They're coming really into CT dub in recent years, and I'll get to that when we do your team reveals, but so you have your base, you have like Herbie Farnworth, who has a shitload of runs a game, plenty of tackles, and he might base 35 to 40 per game. But then you add power to it. And Herbie Farnworth is one of the best tackle busters in the game.
Yep.
He offloads for fun. Jacob Kiros does the same. So while offloads and tackle busts are volatile, you can sort of have a bit of a gauge of, players like that might average 4 tackle busts and 4 offloads per game kind of thing. Some players will average 0 and 0.
Yep.
So that's what power points are. Enough.
No idea.
Enough, do you know?
I don't know if I can explain it, but I'd prefer your.
What's your take on it?
Yeah,
What's your take on
I
this
know,
one?
but you tell me.
Yeah. Enough is essentially a non-active player in your team. So you've got your squad of 26. It's someone who is not expected to actually play, not just on the weekend, but at all, really.
Yeah.
So if a player does their ACL and misses the entire season, this is enough player. They come into play with like your loopholing.
Yeah.
And loopholing and auto emergencies and these sorts of things, they become a little bit more tricky. I will touch on that in the beginners video that I put together. I may have already put it together, depending on when I can be asked to get these podcasts out. So stay tuned. But yeah, so that is what enough is. Enough is a non-active player, essentially. Yeah. Cheapies.
Yeah.
And like, what's a cheapie? Mate?
Yeah, I think that speaks for itself. Yeah.
But I still want to know your answer first.
Well, okay. Well, if the mid range was 300 to 500, I'm guessing it's under 300. Yeah.
Under 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So
with your cheapies, Timmy, I know from the NFL, cheapies were all rookies. Now, in the NRL stuff, are cheapies still just rookies, or are there some players that might have changed clubs and they're down on that lower sort of spectrum? Or
yeah, good question. So no, a cheapie's not just a rookie. It's literally just price based. So the basement price I think this year is like $201,000. That's for someone essentially who hasn't played before. A cheapie's anywhere from sort of that 201,000 to about 350,000. Sub 300K though, that's cheapie gold kind of thing. So next on,
I was just going to say, one last thing with the cheapies. If you're looking at say like a veteran sort of player who they've been going around a fair bit, they've been maybe 5-year player and they are a sort of cheapie, is that someone you typically try and stay away from if they do have NRL experience? Like, so if they've played 5 years and only cost $300,000 and they're a front row forward, is that saying to you that's someone I should probably steer clear of because experience is good, but they might not necessarily be getting points in the Supercoach system?
Yeah, so good question. And Supercoach, and this is important for when you're picking your team and looking at values, it's all about roles. Mm-hmm. So if it's a veteran who has played 7 or 8 years in the NRL, but they've come off the bench last year, and they averaged 30 minutes per game, and they averaged 30 points, and they're 280K as a result. You go, all right, what's going to change?
Yeah.
So if players have left a club and that certain veteran is now starting and they look set for 50 minutes, you go, shit, yeah, like lock and load. So Brandon Smith, for example, is a good one. So he's been around the game for a long time. He's won Dally M Hook of the Year, done all sorts of things. He's like 230K.
Yeah.
Because he's had an off and on couple of years, a few things going on where it's impacted his NRL playing, it's impacted his minutes, all these sort of things. So he starts dirt cheap and you go, cool, like he's still a good footballer. Things just haven't gone his way in recent years. So he becomes a really good cheapie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing with bottom dollar cheapies who might be rookies and have never played, because they're untested, they might start round 1, but they could stink it up. You don't know what you're going to get. They could be dropped by round 2. So the veterans, if the role's right, are actually probably better most of the time.
Yeah, sure.
A cow.
Cash cow?
Yes.
Something to do with it? Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, milk those udders,
I'm
baby.
a big fan of Sunrise. Yeah. Shout out to Koshi. That's the second time he's done that move on this podcast this week. So.
Yeah.
It won't be the last.
No shit, no.
It's been a very touchy off season, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. So if we refer to a cow, it's someone who's going to hopefully make us cash.
Yep.
Last one, AE.
AE.
I mentioned it before by accident.
Yeah, something emergency.
Auto emergency.
Yep.
An auto emergency is basically in Supercoach. It works different across different Supercoach formats. So if you play AFL or NFL or EPL, it's actually a little bit different per game. In NRL though, your auto emergency is, say one of your starting 17 or 18 players with the flex doesn't play for whatever reason. Your lowest scoring player from your reserve, so outside that 18, comes into your team. Your auto emergency, your AE.
Yeah, okay. That
Okay.
makes sense, yeah.
Righto, boys, let's get into your team reveals, and we'll start at the top, and we'll start at the flex positions. And the flex position is introduced last year. It's basically your 18th man, and what happens in Supercoach is that at the end of the round, you have 18 scoring players. Your your lowest scorer drops out. This sort of came in as a result of, you know, the increase in head knocks and the way they were treated in games, and a player gets a flick on the ear and they go off. Super got pissed off, namely myself, because you'd have a gun who's a pod, who's at 1% ownership, and you're like, how good's this? Flicked in the ear, gone 2 minutes into a game for 1 point, and you're like, I'm stuck with that.
Yeah.
So they're just changing the rules because of your podcast. That's
to
the sort of pull you've got. Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah, I like to think I have that much sway.
Glad to know I'm on a platform like that with absolutely no idea what I'm talking
Exactly right. Definitely not my change. I just got pissed off about it all the time.
Yeah.
So to the Overlords actually at Supercoach headquarters, brilliant introduction, the flex rule, and it just takes a bit of the shit luck out of the game. So a great introduction. So let's start at the flex. We'll go with yours, Dars.
Just for a bit of clarity, I actually started picking from the hooker first. This is one of the last positions I picked, but I've gone with Campbell Graham.
Okay, well, let's go from the top. Let's go from there. And as I said, we're going to go player by player. You're going to tell me why you picked them, and I'm basically going to be critical about it. And I've encouraged you boys to ask me questions as we go. And if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening and you have a question, jump on the YouTube. Let us know in the comments. Just ask questions there and I'll jump in and answer them there. So We'll go from the top, mate. We'll go from the hookers. Who have you got there?
So, again, for a bit of context, I went into this with doing no research. I will admit the research I did do was ChatGPT to help me pick a team name, which is Reese's Pieces, which I quite like, which you'll understand when you hear my fullback. But I've picked Tom Starling and Corey Bates.
Dribbler.
Yeah.
Absolute dribbler.
What I was going to say as well is a lot of my predictions, I've tried not to think too hard about it. My picks, I've tried to think too hard about it. I've gone with teams and players that I like. Probably the one bit of strategy I have tried to put in is Corey Pags being a good example, is players who I think have either changed clubs and will get more game time than they did last year, or has had something happen at the club in Billy Walters doing his ACL. I think Pags will be a pretty integral part of the Bronx early on in the season.
Yep. So between Starling and Pakes, decent pickups, and apologies to those who are waiting eagerly about your fullback selections, but you have gone with Reece Robinson. So unfortunate there. Tom Starling. So Starling, like, I could be super critical and say shit pick. Your squads are actually both pretty good for the most part. Like, there are no absolute howlers there. But for Tom Starling, who also splits the role with Owen Paddy, again, Starlo played pretty good minutes last year. Paddy was eased into the NRL. He's a gun. Starlo, unless he would play more of a 13 role for Ricky this year, which he could, he's probably not going to get any better. And I've also got flagged here that you've got Trent Loiero at 557k. Ignoring the fact that he's not actually playing the first 2 rounds of the year because he's suspended. We can look past that. Let's
Didn't
say
know that, but there we go.
That's all right. Another one who played big minutes last year. He's not really going to go up in value at all. And I'll get to my second point there shortly, but Starling, I just don't see a lot of improvement in him, and there's possibly a regression there. So I get the picks. You can do better, but it's all right. Clutch, what do you got?
I've gone Reece Robson and Bailey Hayward. Reasons
Isn't he a fullback?
What was that? Reasons being, I think Robson's gone to a Roosters team that should be performing very well and being in the top 8. When you're surrounded by good players, you should be playing better. He's a representative player. I felt like his price point at $4.97 was pretty decent. I didn't want to invest too. Like, I know the hooker's a pretty pivotal part, but I thought for that price he was good. And then Bailey Haywood at 343. I just sort of put him on the bench because he's got potential to go up. Not exactly sure what his role for the Doggies is going to be this year. But, you know, he showed a bit of potential last year and seemed to be a bit of a goer. They're a good team as well. I tried to pick majority of my guys for teams that I think would perform well this season. So that's sort of why I got him there.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm happy to be roasted if...
Nah, not bad. I particularly like the Bailey Haywood one. Again, we look at what's changed since last year, and it's that Marnie's gone. So, and probably one of the biggest bits of advice I give to people for years when you're picking your round one team, the first thing I do when I look for players for round one and getting my team right is who's undervalued. And generally the undervalued players are people who are set for bigger minutes this year. And Bailey Haywood played so many games off the bench last year. In the back end of the year, when Marnie was sort of on the outer, Haywood became the starting hooker, which is expected to do this year. He could play 65 to maximum 80 minutes. Immediately, you know there's a minute increase, which means he should be undervalued and there's money to come. So whether or not he's a good round one bench sort of hooker, probably is. It depends sort of who else emerges there. But he's solid. And Reece Robson, again, if you think the Roosters going to fly and he'll fit in well there and have points, no knock there at all. So, yeah. No.
My only thing with Reece Robson was I do know Connor Watson plays a utility role and will probably eat into his minutes there. But so that sort of played a little bit into my thinking. But I did think Robson is one of the premier hookers in the competition. So going to such a big team who have probably underperformed the last couple of years, I feel like he's going to make a statement there.
Yep. I reckon Robson may get his 80. Watson could spend some time at 9. I think they might put him as a 13, but good question. But
that was my only thing was what's going to happen.
Not sure. There. But well, I mean, we know Robson can do 80 easily, so see how that goes.
One question I had, Timmy, and this we probably should ask this before we started, and I think I know the answer, but you speak about players who are undervalued and going to improve or regress. I'm guessing like Corey Pakes at 350k, if he comes out, starts playing big minutes and scoring big points, his value goes up and I can then trade him in for more money than I paid for him. Okay.
Absolutely,
makes sense.
Yeah. So,
and vice versa with Starling, if he was to regress, his value would drop. Yeah.
So
is that what you call a break even?
There are so many points I've got like that I'd flagged around certain plays with a bit of prep for this show.
Okay,
and they're all coming out early, and that's fine. It's not a bad thing because then we can just rip and tear through your squads and tear you to pieces.
Yeah.
So,
and then we can have beers.
So yes,
yes.
Thanks for tuning in.
Is this just a way to fly up here and drink beers with us as a tax write-off?
Huge part of it. Huge part of it.
Oh,
sorry, darling, I'm going to go to Brisbane for work. What are you doing? Drinking beers. I mean, podcast.
Do love that.
Yes,
break
where
evens.
were we? Break evens. Squad value.
Yes.
It is imperative that with your Supercoach squad, you build value for the back end of the year. A part of this is not just picking. A lot of a big mistake rookies make is going, oh, cool, I only have 18 players who score for me. I can't afford all the best players that I want. So in my remaining 8 spots, I'm just going to get a bunch of people worth $201,000. Bottom dollar.
Imagine doing that. It's crazy.
Yeah. You started doing that, didn't you?
I 100% did that.
When I saw your squad, that's exactly right. It's the first thing rookies to the game do. Yeah. And when I was disappointed, when you'd actually balance it out okay, okay, there's a talking point gone. But what changed? How'd you work out not to do that?
Well, the main reason I did is because I just ran out of money. And I was like, I have this much money to fill this many spots. So that's the only reason I picked so many cheap players. But
So you have your salary cap to start the season, which is, I actually don't know, what is 12.8 million or
something
like that. And say Corey Pakes starts 350 grand, he kills it early on and he gets to $600,000 and then you sell him off for a hooker who's $200,000. You get an extra $400,000. Well, it wouldn't be $400,000. It'd be $250,000 on top of your 12.8 million. Your squad value goes up. It's the stock market.
Yep.
I know nothing about the stock market. I do know shit about Supercoach though. Don't ask me for stock advice, but that's essentially how it works.
Way more valuable.
Way more valuable. Yeah, you can win $50,000. $51,000 if you win the Playbook League as well. But yeah, so the idea is that by the back end of the season, when you want your squad value not to be 12.8 million, you want it to be 15 or 16 million so that you can afford Cleary and Hines and Tedesco and all these blokes. Payne Haas, the best in the game, because you can't do that at the start. So on the flip side, someone like Tedesco is a good example, actually, who I think was the top scoring player last year on overall points. Start at a monumental price. You go, is he going to make money for me? Like, he has to be absurd early on in the year to match that value. Probably a bad pick. The reality is he's probably going to drop $100,000 to $150,000 at some point. That's when we pick him up because he's cheaper.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Front rowers. Darce.
Perfect segue into me picking Payne Haas.
Yeah. So he's a good one.
Yep.
Fine pick. A reliable captaincy option each and every week. Huge price. He's in the top 10 most owned at the moment. There's a huge case that what I just said around Tedesco, that he starts a bit slower, he drops 100K, and anyone who doesn't start with him actually gets away with it because he is priced on he averaged mid-80s or something last year. If he scores less than what he averaged last year, early on, he's dropping in value.
Yeah.
So if he comes out and goes 85, 85, 85, let's say 80, 80, 80, and people are going, how good, I've got Payne Haas, like, well, technically you're probably losing because he's actually going to drop cash and people can pick him up cheaper. Payne Haas tends to be, the opposite to the rule, right? Like, he just breaks
same on the field.
Yeah,
he's the same in Supercoach as on the field. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've got Payne Haas at the moment, largely because he's a bloke that I can probably just cap in the first 5 round and bank those points. So no,
that was my thinking. As again, knowing very little, I was like, this guy breaks tackles for fun, never misses tackles, throws offloads.
Yeah, and so talking about the next big point, and that is what you referred to before, is a break even. Every player has a break even number. The break even number only comes in to play. It's basically the number that a player needs to hit to go up in value for that week. If they score lower than that break-even number, they will decrease in value. We'll know what that number is, and for each player, price changes do not occur in Supercoach until a player plays his 3rd game.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of your early team structure, it's pretty important, unless you nail your round 1 team, you tend to make a couple of trades in round 1 and round 2 because you get a look at players before their prices change. So if you don't own someone at 220K, and they're starting on the wing and they score a bunch of tries and their break-even will actually be like negative 40, meaning they only need to step onto the field and they'll make money.
Yep.
So you pick them up before that price change occurs. So this is where in Supercoach, once those games roll in and the 3 games roll in, it's getting ahead of the pack and getting them before their prices change and all of that sort of thing. So, and that is based on, it's your 3-round average, your break even essentially, next to what the player's price is. So, Payne Haas at 850K, his break even after round 3 is going to look very, very different, or after round 2, I should say, to Corey Pakes. Yes. Yep. So that sort of break even is very important. That's what you look at each and every week. Not as important the first 2 rounds, but by round 3, break even is everything. Yeah. Other front rowers?
Tom Flegler was my pick. But thinking again, I'm hearing he's going to be right for round 1, and at his best is Queensland Origin prop. I think he was at 346,000. It seemed like a good buy to me.
Yep. So possibly a good pick. He's a tough one, right? Because
very tough.
We don't have a clue how he's going to return.
Yeah.
Does he return through Q Cup? Does he return off the bench? Does he return as a starter? How's he looking?
Yep.
You've also got Heelan Lukey in your team, and probably just the message there for people starting off is, when did they do their injury? So, someone like Cam Murray, who actually played a few minutes in the last game of the year, but was injured early last season. If a player got injured in finals or the back end of last year, and they're probably still a bit underdone, they might not play trials as a result, like a Flegler who's been out for a while. Are they going to be eased back in through minutes? But if you know they're good and they're going to play their regular role and minutes on return, that's good. But my concern with I look at Tom Flegler and I go, 346K. He's going to be a great buy, probably not till about round 5 to 10.
Yep.
Once he gets some Ks back in the legs and minutes and match fitness and all that, he'll be great. I just think he'll start very slow. And your bench front rowers?
Paseka and Takura.
Yep. I've actually got I think I've got the same. I got rid of Takura, but I have Paseka, a great example of injured early last year, gets a price reduction because of playing only 1 or 2 games. starting front row for Manly, will make cash, happy days. And Takura, again, if he's there on the bench round 1, looks like he'll play minutes, happy days. If not, team list Tuesday, week 1, you can flip him. Clutz, front row.
Front row, I went with Haas and Kalonamatangi as my starters. And then I went Flegler as a bench option, pending what they say is going to happen with round 1. He's also someone I'm thinking of. I had it penned down just to watch reports on him. And then the other one, this is more because I back the Storm, and I also think he's been a good recruit that we didn't get to use last year, is Pahulu.
Yep.
Reasoning behind that was I don't think Melbourne's got a very strong pack this year compared to what we have in the past. And I think he's going to be someone, like his price is $268,000 for someone who's a bench forward for a club that's light on front rowers. Had a mate that was doing some stuff down there last year that said pretty much the only reason why he wasn't in there was defence.
Okay.
You'd assume that once you're down there and you've learnt the Melbourne defensive system, there's a lot of room for opportunity. So I'm also thinking he's probably going to get a role going forward. Kalonamatangi, I liked him because good player, representative player, and I think South will be flying this year, so I thought he'd be a strong person to put in there. I was looking at someone like your Terrell Mays and that sort of scope, but I think they're just too expensive for me at the moment. But yeah, it's basically my thinking behind the front rowers.
Yep, no major knocks there at all. As you said, Keon, phenomenal last year. He starts at a reasonable price and his numbers in the middle. Again, we talk about role changes. Keon in the middle, Supercoach God. On the edge, solid.
Yep.
So in the middle, he's unreal. They have so many forwards in general. With Fafita there, Cam Murray back, so minutes will be the watch. Nonetheless, no major knock, mate. Pahulu, if we get to round 1 team list, they'll have Wishy as a bit of utility on the bench. If the minutes look to be there, sweet. But if there's a better one, come round 1, once we get more of an idea, sweet.
If he's not starting or he's not in that 17 over 2, he come a Kamitha, then there's something wrong with him in my eyes, and I'll probably get rid of him.
Yep.
Back
row, Darce.
We've got Horsburgh, Nakora, and Liero. Basically, my thinking was they're all fucking pretty good at footy.
You're right. Hard to knock that logic.
Yeah, and I think those 3 teams in the Sharks, Melbourne, and the Raiders will all go well in 2026 as well.
So with these boys, I don't love any of the picks, and it is for not because they're not good at footy. You're right there.
Knew it.
It goes back to that point of looking for value in your starting team. All of these guys played big minute roles last year. Nicola, I think it was probably almost, for the back end of the year, they had a few games off the bench, so you could argue that, let's say he starts, probably does round 1 over Billy Burns again, plays his 80-minute role, he could go up a little bit. Horsburgh, again, played big minutes last year. Loiero, big minutes last year. Not to say they can't exceed their value and be good buys, but their role hasn't changed. Their minutes won't really change.
There's probably more opportunity for someone who's
There's other
going
people
to,
early on that you go, all right, they're getting an extra 30 minutes per game or whatever it might be. So not bad picks, but there's better, I think, in that instance, What about your bench?
We've got Lukey, Jaden Hunt, and Latu. We were fucking scraping the barrel for some of these picks as well.
Yep. So the word of advice here would be when you're looking at someone like Latu at the Dogs, who unlikely to probably feature early on, if at all. I don't know heaps about him. Jaden Hunt, again, Broncos a little bit light on back row and that, so I see what you're doing, especially with Piakura injured now, but you want to make sure that of your 26-man squad early on, that every single one of them, there are arguments that you can have one nuff in your team, a non-active player, for your looping purposes. Again, I'll touch on that in the instructional video later on, but you want them doing something for you. And by doing something, I'm talking generally about your 19 to 26 options, 19th to 26th option. You want them generating cash to increase your squad value. Each week, only 18 players in your team score points, and the other ones that are in your reserves, they still score points. They just don't contribute to your score that week. But you still want to make sure that they're increasing in value, which increases your overall squad value.
Yeah.
Clutz, what do you got?
I've gone with Billy Kickow, Dave Fafita, and Joe Chan as my starters. Billy Kickow I'm always a big fan of. Fafita, I feel like Bennett's going to get the best out of him. Joe Chan going onto an edge where Eliasa Katoa flourished last year, and they're looking to replace him with his injury. On the bench, I've gone Kurt Donahue, who should be playing in a hooking role from the start with Marshall King's injury. Piakura at the moment, but didn't realise he was injured. And then Cooper Bai, who should be playing off the bench for the Titans, you'd assume.
Yep. So, look, you could make a similar argument with Kikau as Darcy with his players. What I will say about Kikau, and I won't go him for those reasons that I think he's priced about where he's at.
Yeah,
dude can play footy. Like,
yeah,
and where Loiero, particularly Loiero that you had and Horsburgh, they're not really going to come out and belt attack out. They'll make their tackles, have their runs. Sorry?
PowerPoints?
Yeah, PowerPoints. Look at you learning.
Look at him go.
Yeah.
Well
this
done.
is good stuff.
This is good stuff. Hopefully others listening in or viewing are learning as well. So
when I said that and you both went quiet, I was like, oh, I've got that completely wrong.
I was actually just thinking myself. But Kikau, he has these PowerPoints where he can score tries. He can set them up. Offloads, tackle bust. If he comes out and starts on a heater and scores tries and does all this, like, he could exceed his starting value. So that's kind of one where you just go, you know what, screw Tim saying he's at his value and there's probably better options. If you think a player's in for a big year, back him. Yeah, so, like, that's fine.
Because I was actually tossing up between him and Jacob Preston, who they both play same position at the Doggies, but I just thought probably more people would lean towards Preston, and Kikau will still have a high ownership, but maybe not as much.
Yep.
One thing, though, like, that's been interesting with what you've said so far that I want to sort of understand, like, I know when I did the NFL thing, I went for my guns straight away because the cheapies were rookies, so they were very cheaply priced. It's a bit different with the NRL stuff. These big name players, it's sort of like, are we sort of trying to get those mid-range who have the potential to really increase, and then by mid-season we're trying to bring in some of these guns? Like, let's say Kikau might be at his price point, has a couple of off weeks, and he goes down to 500k, and I have someone like a Joe Chan or someone like that that's reached his potential and gets to that price. Swapping those out, getting Kikau at the lower point and banking some cash might be more beneficial.
So you're right. And the difference is, for anyone who played NFL Supercoach out there, maybe hasn't played NRL, apparently it was very, very easy. It's probably one thing that Supercoach, and I'm sure they'll fix it next year, but because they had to launch on such short notice, you cut them a bit of slack. Because the games all just launched about 2 weeks before the comp. They basically had all the rookies who were the guns in the draft who would come in and start QB or whatever it was. They were guns. You knew they were going to make cash.
Yep.
The NRL's not like that. It doesn't. You don't have these out-and-out guns who you know are going to come in, start, play every game and kill.
You don't have Jackson Dart who starts on $4 million but ends up as one of the dearest quarterbacks.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
You do not have that. Like, for someone to start at fullback or halfback at 200k, to be one of the best halfbacks or fullbacks and be as much as Turbo and Teddy and Walsh, it's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, so that the cash generation is a shitload harder in NRL than it is NFL. Yeah.
Damn.
I've two questions, Timmy, and I might be jumping the gun. You might have this down to get into it later, so stop me if you do. First of all, I've always found, I reckon, one barrier for me to getting into Supercoach is having the knowledge of some of these players who are rookies or, you know, fringe players for a club, for lack of a better term, that I couldn't give two shits about.
Yep.
And I hear our mates talk about it. I'm like, you're speaking another fucking language to me. First question is, where would you go to find that sort of information? Second question is, and not even really related to the first question, but is there a tipping point, or is this even worth thinking about having your team under the cap to start the season with a sole focus on generating money?
So,
value.
First question, to sound like an absolute wanker, which I'm real good at.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I have the beauty of being able to do this every day and do research and do all the shit that people do in their other jobs and looking after their kids and playing their sport and doing all that sort of stuff. People will get to a Thursday afternoon and go, shit, like I haven't done my team yet. That's where we've got a cheapy article, and it'll tell you all that sort of stuff. We have our podcast, and we'll
just
do
shortboard you in here, haven't I?
Yeah. And I did not GM this. I'm like, this is literally what SC Playbook was here to do. As Clutz would do with the NFL boys, we're here to make your life easy and do all the research for you. And a lot of it comes around fringies that like no one would have heard of. It's like, well, we go and do these numbers and look what they averaged in SG Ball and averaged in Q Cup and all that sort of stuff. So
you're the sickos for everyone else, really.
We're sickos, mate. I love it. I'm a fucking loser, but like I enjoy it. Whatever. Part 2, the value one. I mean, generally speaking, you don't need to get every dollar out of your cap to start the season. You probably don't want to be keeping much more than 100,000 spare just because you want to try and maximise and spend it where you can. But going into round 2 and round 3, where you know you're probably going to want to fix a few things you got wrong in your starting team and got a few roles wrong and players wrong, it gives you a bit of breathing space to spend a bit of cash and not have to try and find it with other trades early on. So I try and keep 50 to 100K in my cap for my round 1 starting team so that I have that breathing space.
Yep.
If you're in an instance where you're so happy with your team, you've nailed it and you got $300, don't change it to have money in your cap for round 1, but it is a good thing to try and do.
Okay.
All right. Where are we up to? Halfback. All right. Yep. Das?
Sorry, just on my bench players.
We're at halfback, mate.
Kurt Donahue, Piacora, and Cooper Bye.
You just want feedback, don't you?
I do want feedback. This is what because, like I've gone Donahue there thinking that he's going to have the starting hooking role, which should be good. He's around 500K, just under.
And he's a fucking...
And he's a good player. He's a good player.
Good bloke too.
But my issue, I have been thinking, is it worth having him or... Am I going to waste a trade because I know I'm going to possibly have to get rid of him when he's got a reduced role when Marshall King comes back? Is that someone I should be looking at? Or
it's a good question because, as you said, he'll have a prime role for a few rounds.
Yeah.
I'll confirm here, but when Marshall King comes back, I think Max Plath's about round 3-ish.
Yeah.
So, does Max Plath come in and take time off hooker? There's every sort of chance.
Yeah.
Marshall King... So he probably break his foot. He done something stupid at home.
I think he's like week 6-ish or something like that.
Beginning of the season with a knee injury. So essentially though, we can confirm these timeframes, but a player won't move in price until their 3rd game.
Yeah.
So in that instance, he's not a season keeper. I'm not going to have him until the end of the year. So I need him to make enough cash and I need him to play enough rounds to warrant starting him. So to do that, you probably want a minimum of 3 price rises. Sometimes you can get away with 2. 3 price rises you're looking at. He needs to get to round 5 before any of those boys come back and take his minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So probably not.
Yeah.
If those boys were out till round 10, you're like, sweet, we're on to a good thing, but they have to make their cash quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Halfbacks.
Izzy Katoa and Ethan Sanders.
Yeah, like it. And people will sit there and go, why not Nathan Cleary? Why not Nico Hines? Because the best players in Supercoach.
Because they screwed me in fantasy last year.
Because they screwed Clutz in fantasy last year.
It's a point of difference, mate.
Exactly. It is a pod. It is a POD. So, yeah, you can't have all the... If everyone could afford all the big guns to start Supercoach, everyone to have the exact same team would be boring as shit. So there's no knock on starting Cleary or Hines, but to the point of like Payne Haas earlier... They have to be exceptional to start the year.
Yep.
And we know that NRL teams, to begin the season, defence is normally the priority. Attack's normally clunky.
Yep.
There are less points scored, which means there's less points generally on offer for Cleary and Hines and these attacking players. Back end of the year, when they play teams that have given up, thrown in the towel, they're decimated with injury, that's when they can absolutely erupt. So, while as I said, no knock on like a Cleary, you need to look for a bit of value elsewhere. So, when you pick Isaiah Katoa, which is a fine pick... He's a player absolutely on the up and getting better. He is what we would call a stepping stone to Nathan Cleary. So you hope that he starts well and he makes...
Fins are going well.
Yeah, Fins are going well. He makes by around 150 grand. Hopefully Cleary starts a little bit slow, drops 100 grand. Boom, there's a 250k swing on your salary
That's
cap.
exactly my thinking, yeah.
No, to the number.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, and then on your bench spot there, Ethan Sanders starting half of the Raiders, we think... also, thanks, mate, for Kobe Black. That was very generous of the Bronx after that debacle last year.
Yeah, it's all right, mate.
Yeah, so cheers. But should start round 1 for the Raiders. Should make some good cash. Happy days. Clutz?
I've gone Mitch Moses and Daniel Atkinson. Moses, I think the Eels are just better, and he's got Jonah Pezzett there, who should hopefully provide some stability for 1 year before he comes to the Broncos. And then I was tossing up between Atkinson and Sanders. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Jack Cronin, about this. Like, if Sanders has the goal kicking, it could be why you pick him over Atkinson. But I personally think Atkinson is a better player and might be in a better set, or not necessarily a better setup than the Raiders. But who's your other young fella you got there in the halves at the Raiders? Ethan Strange. Like, I think he's the focal point of that team. So I almost prefer Atkinson over Sanders for that reason.
Yeah, so funnily enough, Guru and I on the first episode of Beers and Breakevens, we had that exact same discussion. Sanders versus Atkinson and job security and all that, and the potential goal kicking of Sanders. Yep. You're both on the money. They'll both be popular picks, but it's basically who's got the better job security round one. And your Mitch Moses pick, again, last year, I don't know if he averages 80 minutes, but he was injury impacted throughout the year. Lomax gone, role changing, he gets the goal kicking. You add points to his total. So, boom, straight away. 5'8", bludge of a position this year, Dars.
Jackson Purdue and Ezra Mam.
Sweet. Yep. Like, I because it's a bit of the way I'd play it this year, because it is in a great position, you probably don't want to play both of them early on, and how much upside is there in them? They can both go big, but they can both go very small.
Yeah.
Probably pick one of them, and then in your bench spot, who you don't actually have to play in your starting team each week, you go with like Jonah Pezzett starting at the Eels, and you generate that cash there. So you kind of look at it and go, do I need Ezra Mam or do I need Jackson Purdue? You pick one of them. I like the Jackson Purdue play personally, especially if he plays in the halves for the Cows and not centre. But the other spot I'm going, Ezra, do I want to play him there? Let's bank some cash in Jonah Pezzett.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
I've gone Cody Walker and Pezzett. Reason being, Rabbitohs should be much better this year. Cody Walker, like, he's a good player, and I feel like he'd be a decent Supercoach sort of fella when he's got a good team around him. And Pezzett, cheap, should be able to just stash and let him make some coins so I can upgrade later on.
Bang, nailed it. Boys,
excuse me.
Do you have any of your favourite players in the NRL in your team?
Yeah.
Who?
Reece Walsh.
Okay. Purely, I love Reece Walsh pick.
Yeah, and he's a freak, yeah.
Yeah, he is, and again, he's also one of these kind of exception to the rules, a bit like Payne Haas. Not saying Reece Walsh is the best example of this, but when you're picking your Supercoach team, rule number one, I think I said there was a rule number one before, push that back to rule number two because there's a new rule number one, head over heart. Take heart out of every decision you make. Yep. If you hate a player, but he's a great buy, get him. If you love a player, but he's a shit buy, avoid at all cost because there's no room for heart in Supercoach.
Yeah. I have Herbie as someone that I love. A close dear friend, and Keanu Keeney. I also love what he's about, so I picked those two. Well, I didn't pick them because
they picked themselves.
I love them. They picked themselves in my team. The only one was that Palu earlier in the conversation. Like, I just think he's going to be awesome, but I also don't know if that's me as a Melbourne fan hoping and praying.
There's a bit of that in it. So, like with the Palu one, I sort of sat there and went, he'll be touch and go to start on the bench. What will his minutes look like?
Yeah.
He's not bottom dollar. You said he's about that 268K.
Yeah.
So there's probably a bit of personal bias in that, in what you're saying. Put it this way. You can love a player and they can be good at Supercoach and be a good buy. So it can double down, which in Herbie and Kinney's case, they both are. Kinney's a wonderful buy because he's so discounted from injuries and playing off the bench last year.
Yep.
Herbie is freaking top dollar and, I mean, you're paying every bit for him, but he's the best CT dub in Supercoach at the moment. Yeah.
Cool.
Where were we? CT dubs?
CT dubs now, yeah.
All right.
You want me to go first? I got Trell Mitt, Selwyn Cobbo, Jack Bostock, and Isaac Targo.
All right. So, talk me through, just for example, Tungo.
To be honest, just looking for someone around that price point who I think will go well. I think the Panthers will go well. That was about it. The Bostock and Cobbo, I think I just love Latrell Mitchell. I probably should have mentioned that in the Reece Walsh thing. I think he's a freak. But I think Cobbo's going to be unbelievable at the Finns this year. I heard he's like real fit, he's come back really fit. I think he's just going to carve up, and I think the Finns will go well, and Jack Bostock will be scoring points as well.
Cool. So a bit of advice here: go to scplaybook.com.au, go to predicted teams. Jack Bostock is injured to start the season and won't play, so you can get rid of him.
Yep. Bye-bye, Jack.
Back in round 10.
Yeah,
round 10. I knew he was injured. I didn't think he was going to be that late.
So
shout out to ACLs.
But the Cobbo call again, like not someone I'm starting with. I mean, if the Dolphins light up preseason, he's playing outside Herbie and they look good. There's a world where he comes into the Stallions, but for now he's not. But to your point of, he might not look like the best buy because he doesn't tend to have the best base stats, and he can go missing a little bit at times, sort of thing. How will he fit into a new environment? But if you sit there and know he's going to fire at a new club, new lease on life, pick him. Like, lesson number 3 in Supercoach, always back yourself. Like, if I'm sitting here saying one thing, don't go, Tim knows more about Supercoach than me and does more research. If I say don't pick Cobbo because I don't think he's the best buy, and he comes out and goes hat-trick, which we know Cobbo's capable of doing, you'll be like, why don't I listen to that loser? So,
and on the flip side, when he does come out and go hat-trick, I'm going to be in your DMs going,
exactly. You get the double banger.
This is your job, and
was it live and die by the sword, your own sword. Yeah. So it's like, back yourself, and not necessarily what me and other podcasts and that sort of stuff say, because we sure as hell do not know everything. In fact, there's heaps we don't know. Clutz. Oh no, your benchies.
Will Warbrick. I slotted in there. Again, just think the Storm will go well.
Yeah.
And then, not going to lie, the other two were an auto pick. I don't even know who they are.
Yeah, I was wondering where Walsh came from at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So Farley that's worked out all right. He could start on the wing for the Dragons. So he's actually top 10 most owned players at the moment. So that's sweet. Walsh is one that's right there now that's not going to play for the Cowboys round 1, I wouldn't imagine. May not play this year. Might take ages.
Yeah.
Going back to that point of you want all 26 of your players in your team scoring and making money or doing something for you. As I meant to say before, but the exceptions, like when I look at players that are value and are going to make money for me in the season, the exception is you can probably have a couple of a Payne Haas type or a Nathan Cleary that they're priced at their peak, but they're just that damn good that it's like, even if they don't quite hit it, their average is still like 85 points. They might be going 75, 80. It's good gear sort of thing.
So I'm guessing if you were to take over my team, you'd be swapping him out along with someone like an Ezra Mam, and you splitting the difference in terms of an average to spend on those two positions.
For sure. I'd be like, I'd get rid of Ezra. I'd put in Jonah Pezzett. That'd get me an extra, 360K from there. I'd probably pay up for the next best cheapie and go Walsh to maybe a 260K player, and I've still got $300,000 to play with elsewhere in my squad. Yep. The other thing I'd probably just mention is CT Dub. CT Dub, centre wing, it's a volatile position. This is where those power points I spoke have really come to the fore in recent years. So guys like Herbie, Brian Toto, Jahib Kiraz that have 25 runs a game, that offload, that tackle bust, that just chew through meters, all this sort of stuff. I won't say it's a reliable position because it's not. It's still volatile. But the best players in the position, they're reliable, and when they score tries, they can go bonkers.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Tungo, Cobbo, let's say Bostock was playing. They're all pretty volatile players that could, if they score tries, they'd go great, but their base is pretty shit. They don't get through a lot of work. They don't have great power. They could have a 15-pointer on their day.
Yep.
And again, you got to pay up for your Kiraz and Herbie types, but these are the sort of players that we're chasing.
Yep.
Clutz?
I've gone with Herbie, Toto, Jermaine Asako, and I did have Taylor May, but didn't realise the Tigers had the bye the first week, so it's Tom Chester at the moment. And then my benchies are Taylor May, Jalen DeGroot, and Makasini.
Yep, so the bit of advice there, don't be deterred by the round 1 bye.
Cool.
You don't want to have 6 Tigers in your team because you'll really start slow, but people will see that bye like you have and go, oh, doesn't play round 1.
Yeah.
The beauty of that is if you really like Taylor May, who was awesome when he came back mid-season last year, people avoid him because of the bye. He gets around 2 and you go, sweet, I've got him. In that 1 week I played Tom Chester, he scored 35 for me, whatever, and I've got the bloke that I want. So it can actually work positively that early bye. So don't be too deterred by that.
Yeah.
Toto, base and power beast, Herbie, the best CTW in the game.
Yep.
My personal opinion is that, you know, if Herbie doesn't score tries early in that, he just needs to do a shitload to get anywhere near that value.
Yep.
I'm looking to hopefully pounce on him at about 750K, around 5-6. It's Herbie though. Like, I didn't own him last year and he tore me to shreds. So,
yeah.
and again, like, he's by no means a bad pick. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's all fine. And your bench, you've got De Groot, Macassini, Chester. If they start round one, they're cheap, they play, they'll make cash. Sweet.
Yeah. With the Herbie one then, you spoke about how Kiraz is a similar sort of beast. Are you looking at, okay, Kiraz is going to be less money. I could probably go from a Kiraz to a Farnworth, or Kiraz might be a hold, or...
I've got Kiraz, not Herbie.
Yeah, okay.
I think Kiraz is better value, and I think they'll probably have similar output.
Yeah.
So Kiraz is one that I'm like, I don't necessarily think he'll drop much value, and if he scores a few tries, he could go up in value and be a must-have pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Herbie, I'm kind of like, look, even if he starts strong, he probably holds at 8.25.
Yeah.
In theory, and I said this last year, at some point the tries have got to stop, hopefully early on in the season, and I can get him at a discount. But Kiraz, I'm like, no, he can actually go up in value. So
yeah, okay.
That's the thinking there.
The other one, because you know how you said CTW is so volatile. I know there's a fair few people that are kickers for their teams that play in that position. So that's why I've got a Sarko there, because I assumed Dolphins one of the most prolific scoring teams last year. Hopefully he's going to get a lot of points by converting. Someone like your Ruben Garrick was also someone I was looking at. Like, should I be taking that into consideration that they're goal kickers and in a volatile position?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Like Garrick's one of the best to do Supercoach. He gets through his work, has like good base stats, decent power stats, and he's a good goal kicker.
Yeah.
Like, if a player gains the goal kicking duties and they don't have any points in their average from last year off goal kicking, you go, sweet, like jackpot. Like Mitch Moses, for example. I think if you're picking someone who goal kicked last year and will goal kick this year, you probably need to be more looking at, especially early on in the season, did they play... Latrell Mitchell's a good one. Like, I own Latrell, who the Bunnies were ordinary last year because of all their injuries.
Yeah.
Starting the season, hopefully they get through preseason well at full strength. There should be points in that team. He should get more goal-kicking points. So if you are leaning into the goal-kicking stuff early on, probably look at, is it a team that you expect to score more points than last year?
Yeah.
It's like a Sarko, for example. The Dolphins will probably be better this year, hopefully play finals footy. They still scored a shitload of points last year.
Yeah,
so is much going to change there?
No,
Maybe not.
Yeah, okay.
Fullbacks, Darce.
Reece Walsh and Hunt. I don't even know who that is, Hunt either. So that's another one.
Let's have a look here. Oh, you forgot Fletcher Hunt from the Knights.
Yep.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at here is Reece Walsh, that's fine, all good, freak. Fletcher Hunt, straight away I see, firstly, he's not going to play round one, I don't think. He could slot in on the wing for the Knights. Let's say, for argument's sake, that he does play round one and he's 322k, so he's an awkward price, probably not a great buy, but there's merit that he might score a few tries and earn some money.
Yeah.
He's dual fullback CT dub. Fullback is the most important position in Supercoach with the best scoring, especially to start this year. There's lots of good mid-range options. I'm going, if you wanted Hunt and let's say he was a good buy, piss off Walsh in your CT dub spot. You can flip Hunt up to your CT dub because he's got that dual position, and then that frees up an all-important fullback spot for you.
Makes sense.
Clutz?
I've gone my boy Keanu Kenny, and I've gone Ponga.
Yep.
Ponga seemed quite cheap. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but he seemed quite cheap.
Yep. And again, the one with him may or may not goal kick this year. I think he will, but there's a few options there. Depends how they want to play it, but he is cheap. And the first thing I did, and I've mentioned that I'm starting at the moment Kalen Ponga to a few people, and their first reaction was, oh, why are you starting him off? How bad the Knights were last year, and Ponga didn't have a great year, and that I'm like, that's the point. He's cheap because he had a bad year. It's Kalen Ponga. The dude can play footy.
Yep.
And his average dropped about 20 to 25 points last year on the 2 years prior. So immediately I'm going, I don't think he's going to be worse than that. My concern with Ponga, and this is getting beyond the beginner stuff, is just that I think the Knights are going to battle this year. How many points and opportunities are you going to have, and what sort of platform will they have to play off? But nonetheless, yeah, he's a good pick. Keanu Kinney, limited minutes last year from injury, cheap, sweet.
Yeah.
Now your flex position, and this is a conversation. Who have you both got?
Campbell Graham.
Yep.
I went Cam Murray.
So there's no perfect way to play Supercoach in general, but there's no perfect way to play the flex position. You can do it a bunch of different ways. The general rule of thumb, though, is, and it only got introduced last year, target the best position, and that's fullback.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't entirely sure. So I know for NFL-wise, like I played 2 quarterbacks the whole time because that, to me, was going to be the highest scoring, consistent position.
And you wouldn't have thought about it.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I was sort of hoping to find out, like, is it the same sort of strategy? So, like, immediately I'm already thinking, do I put Cam Murray up into my second row, get rid of Billy Kickow? That's a couple of $100,000 that I've got that I can spend there. And then go with like a third fullback. So I'm running Keeney, Ponga, and another fullback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, especially this year, there are guys like Kinney, Trey Fuller if he starts at fullback. There's really good value ones. And then you go, all right, I want to throw Reece Walsh in as well and have the elite of the elite there. It's just the position you tend to target. The exception to this would be like, say there, and you could say there is this year, you might want to start, you might be all in on Cleary and Nico Hines. Two of the best do it. They can compete with the best fullbacks in the game. And then you might want a cheapy halfback like Ethan Sanders or Dan Atkinson. Or you might want to start Cleary along with Sanders and Atkinson. But there's just good fullback points players who are going to go up in value. I think the way that most will play it is going 3 fullbacks in the position. Yeah, certainly not a CT dub, certainly not a back rower. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, lovely. I'm already having a look at my options here, and it's fun.
How you feeling, mate? You bit toey?
Yeah, I'm really horny, to be perfectly honest.
If there was one word to sum up this room right now, I think horny would be it. Yeah.
And that's not just because beers are like 2 minutes.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Man. Yeah. No, it's very insightful. Like, there's a couple of different questions I had though based around the amount of players that you should be having from each team. So, like, if I have a look at my team, I have, at the moment, 4 Dolphins players. I've got 4 Souths players. What do you think's is there any right number for the amount of, like, a maximum amount of players you should have per team? Because obviously if I've got 8 players between 2 teams, like if one of those teams has a stinker, I could be in for an all-time crap week. Good
question. It typically doesn't matter. So the same question happens every year where people will be like, oh, I've got Pappenhausen, Hughes and Munster and I want to buy Harry Grant. And it's like, you know, only so many of them can score well one week and get the attacking stats and someone's going to have to miss out. Yeah. The answer to that is no, they're not. Like, they're all elite Supercoach players who all tend to average 70 plus most years. They can score well together because they're a good team and they put points on. Yeah. The only time that you need to sort of consider this is with a bye. So Dolphins round 6, for example, you look at the Dolphins players that you've got, and if you had 4 plus of them, and they were people you wanted long term, if you lose them all on a bye, it can leave you very short sort of thing. If they don't have their first bye to around 9 or 10, and you'll sell a few of them by then anyway, it doesn't really matter. But like, let's say the Dolphins did have the round 2 bye, and you had 4 or 5, then you'd go, okay, well, that's a lot out in round 2. So you probably, if you're stacking up on a team, I wouldn't be too concerned about what if the team goes poorly and they battle for points, especially if they're guys like that have good base and have good power. That doesn't really matter if they're not scoring tries; they'll still score well enough. And if they do light up, they all light up together and you're killing it. But the bye is the one you want to watch there.
Yeah. Okay. Too easy.
Any other questions? I feel like a school teacher.
Yeah. Hey, you're doing a good job of it.
We're just running out of memory on this memory card, so if you do have any questions, I might have to clear some space. But if not, I think we're all good.
All right. That'll do us then, boys.
Beautiful.
Thanks. If you like the show, let us know, and I might get some more trips back up to Brisbane to come to the Caxton and have beers with you boys and spin yarns.
It sounds good.
Sounds great to us.
No, thanks for having me, boys. What an establishment.
Yeah, thanks for coming up, mate. We appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Hope you enjoyed the beginner series of NRL Supercoach. As I said, if you have any questions, let us know in the YouTube comments, or you can message me. Do whatever you want. We'll go from there. Cheers.